The story begins with two individuals standing in front of a blazing fire. A man yells, "What did she do?" with malice echoing from his voice. Our protagonist Lisa Fertan smiles at him. As the man becomes more agitated after realizing his powers aren't working, the blonde-haired man next to her with red eyes tells her if she gives him the order he'll get rid of the nuisance with his bare hands. However, she holds up her hand. She smirks and looking him in the eyes tells him he can't. The man interrupts their moment, ordering her to answer his questions. She laughs, exclaiming he thinks if he raised his voice she'll actually give him an answer. A chill goes down his spine. When she informs him their positions have changed, she declared the real incompetent one is him, her brother. This is just the beginning of her revenge, a special ability that only members of a certain lineage can possess. In other words, it's the qualification to stand above others. In her country, people with a special ability was promised a privileged life from birth. On the other hand, those without these abilities are called incompetent. These people are destined to work as hard as they can for these ability users. Currently, a princess is working tirelessly in some documents. The butler approaches her requesting she take a break, but she smiles, stating it's almost done, so he shouldn't worry. The servants and maids think that even though Lisa is an imperial princess, she's kind to them. They hope that she will become the next empress. Unfortunately, she has no powers. If only she wasn't an incompetent like them. However, it's strange, as all members of the royal family should be born with a special ability. Even her siblings have the most extraordinary abilities of all time. Lisa thinks she's a failure, and her only talent is handling government affairs better than anyone else, because she's an incompetent. Later on, she finally finishes the document. She enters a room where her brother is laying comfortable, talking with a friend. She approaches him, showing the documents he asked for. However, her brother clenches his teeth in irritation. He grabs the paper from her quickly. He looks over the document and tells her she's done very well. They're blood after all, so it makes sense. Even though she's incompetent, well done. She may have lost sleep, but she's pleased that her brother is happy. She then holds her head, realizing she's at her limit of her fatigue. She has to rest or she may faint. However, her brother requests that she prepares for tomorrow's festival. Surprised by his words, she reminds him that's his responsibility. He sighs loudly, covering his face. He explains that even though she's incompetent, this is something that can help the family, so he gave it to her. He looks her in the eyes and tells her to answer him honestly. She can do it, right? She feels weak, her breathing heavy, but she believes he's saying this for her own good. She confidently exclaims that she can do it. When she's leaving the room with a handful of documents, she encounters her sister. Lisa asked what happened. Louisa explains she believes she angered the Marchioness at the tea party. She exclaims she wants to apologize, but she is scared. Lisa, knowing that Louisa is only 16, believes this can't be helped. Lisa pats her head, stating she's reflected on it enough, so she will apologize for her. Louisa hugs her, stating thank you. She's truly reliable. With a contorted smile, she comments it's hard to believe she's an incompetent. Later that night in the mansion, Felix tells a story about his heroics. Afterwards, he informs their father that this festival will be conducted by Lisa. It's a good position since she has a good reputation among the commoners. Her father praises her, but comments if she only had special abilities she would go much further in life. Her father reveals that even among the subjects there are many people who want her to be the next empress. Her brother grits his teeth, as Lisa smiles gleefully, not noticing him at all. Louisa pours Lisa a drink, telling her to drink. Lisa drinks the wine. She's so happy that they accepted an incompetent like her into the family. In the next scene, a fire blazes, releasing gases and ash into the air. A bird screams, attempting to escape its confinement. At that moment, Lisa wakes up, realizing her room's on fire. She needs to escape, but can't. She notices her brother and sister standing a few feet in front of her. Dread fills her and she tells them to run away. However, she feels a pain in her chest. Her brother comments that Louisa's poison is working well, and Louisa compliments his flames. Blood flows from Lisa's mouth as she exclaims, "What?" Louisa explains that they're trying to get rid of their unfortunate sister. Lisa thinks they must be joking. Felix states that even though she's incompetent, she's interfering with him. If she stands out any more, it'll cause issues for him. Tears run down her face. She wants them to stop talking. The pain she's feeling is too intense. Her brother exclaims this is his last request, please die. She wonders why she worked hard for both of them. She clenches the sheet. And finally she realized that she was the only one who thought of them as family. She then decides if that's the case she won't think of them as family either. Even if her soul falls into hell, she will never forgive them. Suddenly Lisa jolts out of bed. The maid states she was worried because she was having a nightmare. For a moment Lisa thought it was a dream, but seeing the red stains on her hand, she knew it was real. She's shocked and confused, wondering if she came back from the dead. The maid informs her that her complexion doesn't look well, and if she's feeling unwell. Lisa puts on a smile, thanking Emma for her concern. Emma suggests she cancels the tea party with Princess Louisa if she's not feeling well. Hearing Louisa's name reminds her of how that witch poisoned her with a wine bottle. With a grin in her face, this makes her furious. Lisa tells Emma it's fine and to prepare as usual. At the tea party, Lisa still has a hard time believing it. She's returned a year earlier. Even her half-sister, the third princess, is sitting in front of her, who aided her brother Felix to get rid of her. Louisa inquires if she's listening. She comments that she's been gloomy for a while, and she's tired because of the incident that happened with her brother. Earlier, the nobles were arguing about a sudden tax increase that would bring the people on the brink of rioting. They question who would do such a stupid thing, but in cold tone Felix exclaims Lisa did it. Lisa turns her head in shock, wondering if she misheard. He elaborates that she did it without his consent or advice. She knows it's a lie. He gave that order forcibly, as she was about to defend herself. He places a hand in her shoulders. He whispers in her ear, please Lisa, if she understands that it's all her fault, everything will be fine. He comments if it's the work of an incompetent like her, everything will be fine. This hits a nerve, and tears start to form in her eyes. He states for the sake of the family, shouldn't she get her hands dirty? Suddenly she thinks she's just an incompetent who always causes trouble for her family. Her father inquires if she really did it. Lisa stands up exclaiming that she did it. She believes since she's so useless she as to be useful at times like this. In her past life she was truly foolish, tormented by a sense of inferiority. That's why she couldn't see her surroundings. Felix never thought of her as family, and she never realized it. Louisa exclaims she feels sorry for her and if it was really her brother's mistake. She then comments that even though she's incompetent, she's excellent, so her brother is jealous. She holds Lisa's hand, stating with a broad smile she declares she's absolutely on her sister's side. That's when Lisa questions what did she do? She can't remember one time when she helped her. It hits her like lightning. Louisa is just like Felix. They pretended to be on her side to push the tedious work onto her. She has no clue why she went back in time, but there's no reason not to take advantage of this opportunity. This time they won't get their way. That being said, both Louisa and Felix have special ability, and they have many aides behind them. Also, those who want to enrich themselves are on their side. Lisa informs Emma she wants to invite someone to the mansion, the Duke of Leuven, Theodore Leuven. The people exclaims it's Duke Theodore, the hero of the Leuven family. He's known as the supernatural hunter-swordman. He gives off a very intimidating aura. A knight inquires if he would like to continue to the palace, but Theodore states he has to report to His Majesty the Emperor. Suddenly a knight reads him a letter stating that when he returns to the imperial city, the sender would like to meet him. It's from Her Royal Highness Princess Lisa Fertan. Immediately he turns his horse, telling his men to return to the imperial palace first, as he will go to meet Her Highness the Princess. A servant exclaims Duke Theodore has arrived. As he enters, he stares down at her. She stands up and thanks him for coming. He slightly bows, stating it's an honor to be invited by Her Imperial Highness. Suddenly the atmosphere shifts and he inquires about her orders. She holds her trembling hand. She tells him they should go for a walk and talk. She exclaims for the first time in 10 years it's a reunion of childhood friends. Theo lowers his gaze and remains silent. She exclaims she heard he just returned from an expedition. He proudly states they repelled an invasion from the north. She asked if he's planning on staying in the imperial city for a while. He exclaims that's the plan. Duke Theodore Leuven is one of the 3 famous dukes in the empire. He's the head of the Knights of Leuven and lead his knights to fend off foreign enemies. He's the key of the Empire's military might. If anyone sees the Golden Lion of Leuven on the battlefield, be afraid, drop your weapons on run. Even if a mountain of the deceased are made, he doesn't lift an eyebrow. He's a cold-hearted knight. He's a person to be avoided in the Imperial Palace. He's her childhood friend. In her previous life, she became estranged from him, but she'd be grateful if she could get him to join her side. She lowers her head, knowing it's not right, and she has no intention of pretending to be a good person now. She's going to use him for her revenge. She smiles, stating that if he likes, she'll show him around the garden. As they walk together in the garden, she can't help but remember the past. It's nostalgic. They got along well and played with each other until sundown, just playing and laughing, also flirting with one another like him bringing her flowers, but she never caught on. She thought those days would continue forever until her mother informed her Theo could not visit her anymore. She was devastated and never understood why. 10 years later, when she saw him again for the first time, he was no longer the man she knew. She could no longer remain innocent as she was back then. She nervously laughs, stating they used to play together. He looks at her, seemingly suspicious of something, exclaiming, "Is that so?" With a worried expression, she asks if he doesn't remember. He exclaims, "No." He then states she didn't call him to reminisce about the past. Did she? He asks her to tell him why she called him. Despite the fact that he's incompetent, he's able to fight on equal footing with people with special powers, and with the military power of his family, even Felix is afraid of him. She reveals that Felix and Louisa are using the fact that she's incompetent to oppress her and eventually take her life. She won't allow such tyrannical people to reap the benefits of their acts, so she will prevent their misdeeds and make them pay. He inquires if she's planning to make the royal family her enemy. Lisa declares she's planning to go ahead even if the road is painful. She extends her hand to him, declaring she wants him to have her back. He's surprised. However, her plea is honest and powerful. She wants him to cooperate with her. He questions what if he refused. She responds that she'll consider him her enemy. He asks if that's a threat. She tells him he can take it however he wants. However, she doubts that the Leuven family will suffer much for being hostile towards the incompetent princess. He inquires what his family will receive in return if they cooperate with her. She tells him she will provide him with benefits. What kind of benefits? He questions. She announces she'll give everything to him. He's stunned but inquires what she means. She smirks, stating it means exactly what she said: her property, her power, and herself. She elaborates that even though she's a weak and incompetent princess, the royal blood that flows through her is real. For the prosperity of the dukedom, she's sure she will bring some benefits. She states she will beat her siblings by any means necessary, so she asks for him to lend her his strength. He then questions if he declines if she will approach someone else with this offer. She looks at him curiously, stating that she believes that will happen. He immediately gets on his knees, declaring the House of Leuven pledges its loyalty to Princess Lisa. He kisses her hand, with fire in his eyes, stating from now on he'll follow her orders. She smiles and thanks him. Opposing Felix and the others is like challenging all the corruption in the country. It's going to be a tough journey. Theo informs her he must make his report to His Majesty. She tells him they should meet up again later. At that moment, they cross paths with Felix, who exclaims, "What kind of wind is blowing?" While looking at Theo with a disgusted look, Felix questions why a golden lion is next to Lisa. Louisa states it's like a beast came in. She can smell the scent of war. They comment that a whole bunch of useless and incompetent people have infested the palace. He feels sick. Felix laughs and orders Lisa to take Theo out of the palace. Lisa exclaims she refuses. Her siblings and the bystanders are flabbergasted. She exclaims they're not useless, and Theo is not a stray dog. Felix is shocked, and Louisa attempts to hide behind her brother. It's hard to believe that timid Lisa is talking back. She clenches her dress. Until now, it's hard to believe these people kept telling her this. However, her siblings have no right to decide who they are. Felix states it's no good to get angry like that, and Louisa comments she's a bit scary. Felix approaches her, stating it was just a joke. She can't believe that she was fooled by such a devious method for so long. But since they continue to treat her with disdain, she will take advantage of that. She timidly states since he talked about her friend in such a manner, she got carried away. However, it was rude of her to talk back to her brother. Felix proudly states it's fine since she understands. She then states regarding the tax increase at the recent parliament, she's going to try her best to reassess it. Her brother nervously inquires what is she talking about. She notices how panicked he is, but it's only natural as all the money he makes from the tax increase will be embezzled by him later. He tells her not to bother as the anger of the people will soon subside, so she should leave it alone. Moreover, it's an official order that has already been issued to all the people of the empire, so it would be very difficult to take it down. She tells him she will try. She may be incompetent, but she wants to work hard for her brother and the people of the empire. She smiles, stating he didn't mean to cause unnecessary problems to his subjects. She turns around and tells Theo to follow her. The nobles behind them question if they can really ask an incompetent to withdraw her order. However, it's unusual that it seems Felix can't say anything about it. Felix, feeling embarrassed, rushes towards Lisa. Suddenly, he's intercepted by Theo, stating that even His Highness wouldn't dare to harm Princess Lisa. With the wrath of a lion, she exclaims it would be unforgivable. They walk away, and Felix tells them to do as they please. Immediately, Louisa rushes towards him and tells him to calm down. He furiously states that he doesn't believe anything she does will work. Louisa exclaims it's that sister, so anything she does will definitely fail. The knowledge before her death and the label of incompetent was her trump card. By taking advantage of Louisa and Felix's actions, they'll prepare to rebel. She summons Lord Bale. He remarks that he's busy. He inquires what is the reason for a personal summon from Her Highness herself. She explains that he's in charge of the taxes of the country. She's also heard that he's a very capable person. He comments that as a chosen person with special abilities, he is trusted by His Majesty and even Prince Felix to do the work. She smiles, explaining that it's wonderful. Seeing her reaction, he suddenly realizes the position he's in. He inquires if she is questioning the tax increase. She responds yes. She is pondering if they can still reconsider it. He nonchalantly says that even if it's Her Highness's request, it would be difficult as proper procedures were taken, and even if a lot of fuss is made about it, he refuses to reassess it. In her previous life, this man flattered Felix with his sweet tongue and reaped sweet nectar because of it. As a result, her siblings' tyranny was very rampant, especially because of people like him. She makes up her mind and decides to get rid of him first. She smirks while holding a stack of paperwork, stating there is one more thing she would like to discuss with him. She reveals that she's been investigating the financial movements of his family, and there seems to be a lot of unnatural income. Lord Bale recoils from the shock. In a stern tone, she states that if he refuses to answer her question, he must account for where he's getting the money. Outside Lisa's office, he bites his nails, questioning how his embezzlement was discovered. And to make it worse, it was discovered by that failure of a princess. She's an incompetent, yet she does not know her place. If he can get his hands on that document, he promises that he'll make her regret it. At that moment, a messenger enters his office, informing him that he received a message from Prince Felix that the matter of the tax increase should not be left to Lisa. Hearing this, Lord Bale is even more irritated. He takes his frustration out on the servant, stating that the servant is just a mere incompetent, so he shouldn't tell him what to do. The servant goes and leaves. Bale knows if he disappoints His Highness's orders, his life will be in danger. Bale sees no other option than to use his special ability on the servant to fulfill his plan. However, he doesn't realize that he's falling into Lisa's trap, because if she shakes them up enough, they'll have no choice but to react. Theodore questions if it's really necessary to take such a risk, as Bale is a cunning man and will do anything to protect himself. She responds that she is sure that he will come after her. Theodore tells her that if he were in her position, he would capture Bale right now, regardless of whether alive or dead. She tells him that she's not doubting his ability. However, now is the time to move in secrecy and create an opportunity to strike. That's why she wants the other person to take action. Despite the fact that they signed a contract, she doesn't believe that Theo trusts her completely. She inquires if he remembers their old magic spell. She smirks and shows him her pinky finger. She promises him that she'll win his trust. He turns his head away, revealing that if things don't go well, he will have to take action. She responds that at that time she will ask him to. She knows that if they were to face the superpowers head-on, they would have no chance of winning. However, in such a situation, they must overcome them. But everything is fine, as the preparations are ready. According to her predictions, they will fall into her trap soon. Suddenly, a servant rushes to find Princess Lisa. He's out of breath. He tells her about her office. She approaches her office and is surrounded by nobles and servants. They say that her office was damaged. A knight explains that the parliamentary secretary was seen coming out of her office and seems to have stolen documents. However, the secretary denies this. There are even testimonies that saw him running out of the office. Bale shouts that he saw him running out of the office too. The secretary gets on his knees, begging and saying that it wasn't him. The nobles comment that he's incompetent, so it makes sense that he would do this. The documents that have been stolen are all the evidence that was going to be used to blackmail Bale. She notices Bale's triumphant expression. However, looking at a bloody flower from her drawer, she thinks that he is the one that has fallen into her trap. She pretends to be distressed, stating that it's very sad that someone would do this, and the perpetrator must be made to pay for his crimes. Tears run down the secretary's face, and Bale smiles victoriously. However, she comments that it's strange as she also had a certain flower in the drawer. It has blood on the thorns, meaning the culprit must have rushed through the drawer, which means there must be wounds on his hands. However, this young man doesn't have a single scratch on his hands. At that moment, Bale looks at his hand, scratched and bleeding. It's obvious that he is the guilty culprit. She approaches him, whispering in his ears that his powers allow him to transform into other people's appearances. She tells him that he has a very useful power. However, once you know what it is, it's nothing special. Most people with special abilities keep the details of their abilities a secret because once it is discovered, it will be easy to find a weakness. Since she was forced to do all the work of the Imperial Palace, there is a huge amount of information that links to the evil deeds of people with abilities. As a result, it's not too difficult to guess the opponent's ability. She tells him by checking his movements they can find out where the documents went. She comments that if someone in charge of tax somehow went into the princess's office and stole documents, he must know what will happen. She smiles and inquires if he knows what to do. He turns his head, stating that he may have been incorrect when he said he saw the secretary. However, upon seeing Theo's face, he exclaims that he was 100% incorrect. Later on, Lisa's request for the tax review was approved by the parliament. He asks why Lisa is allowed to do as she pleases. Louisa, behind the door, thinks that her brother will be angry for a while. However, she has noticed that her sister's demeanor has changed. She's curious, but as she sees a blonde stud, Theo, she licks her lips thinking if she should have some fun. She approaches Theo and inquires if he's looking for her sister. He responds yes. However, she notices his stern expression and tells him not to be so alarmed. She gets close to him and in a sweet voice tells him that she's sorry for all the rude things she said. She tells him in order to apologize, she wants to treat him to some tea. While they are having tea, she asks if he's a knight. She requests to hear stories about his escapades. He responds that stories about the battlefield are not ones he can share with someone like the Imperial Highness. She comments that he's a gentleman. At that moment, he goes deep in thought to when Lisa informed him that many special people are scared of him because he is known as a supernatural Terminator. She ordered him to be as inconspicuous as possible because she wants him to live a peaceful life. He tells her that he understands. Suddenly, he tries to convey something to her. However, he stops, saying that it's nothing and bows and tells her goodbye. He continues drinking his tea and thinks that he must keep his promise to Princess Lisa. Meanwhile, Louisa analyzes him. First, she thought he was just a stray dog. However, now that she's up close and personal, she sees how obedient and cute he is. She smirks, thinking that her sister has not already won him over. She informs him that it's amazing that he is the head of a ducal family and also a knight. He thanks her for her praise. However, she announces that she believes that he deserves more recognition. He responds that he does not understand what she means. She explains that she can make him the best man in the empire. She grabs his arm and with her best smile, she tells him to stop being friendly with her sister and come over to her side. He retracts his hand and boldly states that it seems she misunderstood. There is only one master that can use him, and that master is Princess Lisa. He gets up and tells her it's almost time, so he must leave. The tea in her hand trembles rapidly. It's hard for her to believe that there's a man that would choose her thick, fine sister over her. Moments later, Theo enters the room where Lisa and the secretary are discussing something. He apologizes for his late arrival. She tells him that his arrival was perfect, but noticing his expression, she inquires if something happened. He shakes his head and denies it. Lisa explains that the secretary gave some useful testimonies. The secretary approaches Theo and inquires if he knows Marquis Damien Constable. Theodore is confused. Lisa explains that he is the scream-crazed Marquis. Hearing this name, Theodore is shaken. Marquis Damien is a man who loves beauty and has aristocratic hobbies. However, he always spends most of his time secluded in his mansion. Many people are scared of him. Even the members of the royal family hesitate to mention him. He is considered a weirdo. It is said that he's a sadist without measure and that he only targets low-class women, making them suffer horribly. Theodore inquires what that man is doing. She explains that, according to the secretary, the reason why Marquis' hobbies are overlooked is that he acts as an assassin for Felix. He uses his special ability to get rid of people who are nuisances to him. The secretary lowers his head, attempting not to cry, and reveals that many of his colleagues have lost their lives in strange ways. He had attempted to gather evidence against the Marquis, but given his position, he can't go any further than this. At this moment, Lisa realizes that when she was at their mercy, she could not see their plight. But now it's different. She tells them that the Marquis is 10 times more dangerous than Bale. She announces that if the Marquis's misdeeds come to light, Felix will have no choice but to react. This is their chance to fight back. Theodore questions what they should do about the Marquis. He asks if she has any ideas. Suddenly, she is surprised. She thought he would react the same way he did with Bale. At that moment, Theodore apologizes for his rudeness and lowers his head. He informs her that from now on, he would trust her as his master. Feeling nervous, she asks him to raise his head. However, she feels uncomfortable by the fact that he's accepted her as his master, so he can't even raise his head. She decides to accept her role. She tells him that he's forgiven and in a commanding tone, tells him to show her his face. She gets back to the topic and states that the Marquis is very cautious and rarely leaves his palace. However, there is a loophole. Every year, he appears and participates in the auctions hosted by the royal family. An auction is held once a year by the royal family, a top-notch auction that brings together a wide variety of art and antiques. It's famous for attracting prominent aristocrats from all over the country. The Marquis attends it every year without fail. She plans to trap the Marquis at this auction. A spokesperson announced that since the auction is approaching again, the parties from the imperial family are, as usual, Felix and his sister Louisa will attend. However, Lisa raises her hand and states that this time she would also like to attend the auction as well. Felix and Louisa stare at her in shock. The spokesperson seems stunned and doesn't seem to have any words. Noticing this, she asks for her father's opinion. Her father is the current emperor of the Rhodes Empire, Joseph Fertan. He is fair and respectful regardless of whether a person has a special ability or not. He's a man of supreme power who enjoys strong support from his subjects. He has many wives and children. He also has the power to decide who will become the next emperor. Her father is a man of principle. He is quiet but has a dignity that leaves no room for argument. If she can persuade him, then Felix and Louisa won't be able to resist. Her father comments that it is rare for her to act independently. She responds that she wants to learn lots of things. She heard that valuable items are collected at the auction. She would like to meet the nobles and broaden her horizons. Hearing her words, Felix and Louisa seem visibly captivated. With a disappointed expression, she inquires if what she's asking is impossible. Her father takes a moment to think and states that it's fine. He will allow her to attend. Suddenly, Felix begs his father to wait, reminding him that every year it has been decided that it will be him and Louisa. His father responds that there's nothing wrong with having one more person from the royal family joining. And since Lisa wants to do it, shouldn't he respect that? Or is he not satisfied with his decision? Felix is overwhelmed by fear and states that is not the case. His father smiles and responds that that's the end of the story. Brothers and sisters should get along well with each other and attend together. With this, she has overcome one hurdle. Outside the castle, rain falls, and Lisa stands in the rain, looking at the garden. She thinks that there is still time until that day arrives, and they will try their best to get evidence on the Marquis and also investigate his special abilities. Suddenly, Theodore emerges from the bushes. She wonders where he came from and inquires what he is doing. He brushes off his uniform and responds that he is merely exploring. As on the battlefield, he leaves nothing to chance. It's important to know the terrain. As Theodore stands behind her, he comments that it seems the security is weak. He inquires if there aren't any royal guards. She responds that it seems like her brother and Louisa have them, but because she is considered incompetent, she doesn't have proper security. Moments later, she stops at his door with a new change of clothes. She knocks but does not receive a response, so she opens the door and apologizes for the intrusion. She sees a muscular Theodore wiping his hair, with a scar on his abs. She stands there, frozen by his manly physique. Theodore is stunned and can't believe she is seeing him in such a light. She quickly regains her composure and informs him that she brought him a change of clothes. He apologizes for bothering her, but she tells him it's fine as the mansion is understaffed, and it's something she likes to do. In truth, she wanted to do it because they are scared of him. She notices a scar on his chest and inquires if the scars were from physical injuries sustained on the battlefield. He informs her that because he is considered incompetent, there is no way he could defeat someone with special abilities without getting hurt. The more lives he takes, the more wounds he sustains. She feels disheartened as she hears his cool voice, reminding her that the man she once knew is no longer there. Instead, it's a battered, changed man. She also realizes she has changed, using her childhood friend for revenge, just like Felix and Louisa. Felix sees that she's suffering, tries to say something but can't, so he just closes his mouth and stares at her from behind. Later that night, as she sleeps alone in bed, some men are having a conversation saying that her room is on the 3rd floor. They comment that for a member of the royal family, her security is very lacking. Another jokes, saying that she is the incompetent princess who was abandoned a long time ago. Suddenly, they notice a man approaching from the shadows. They quickly ready their weapons. As he approaches, he tells them that he doesn't know who paid them, but he guesses they are prepared to face the consequences.